What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another late night in the Brew Lab with me, Lone Fox, your brewmaster in chief. And tonight in the Brew Lab, we're of course talking Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I've been away for a little while, so I'm very late to the game. Some of you may have caught my post on the various social medias, but my microphone exploded when one of my kids knocked it off of the table. And, just one thing after the other. I decided to just take a break from recording while I wait for the new microphone and just wanted to recharge my batteries. And I was able to rush into Mythic nice and early, hit Mythic last night in the nick of time. Tomorrow is early access. And, right after that, it's going to be a bunch of early access brews and then straight into set release day. And I'm already in Mythic, so we can just test everything out from the new set. So I just wanted to, you can call this a top 10 video, you can call this a set review, a spoiler talk, extended edition, part 3, whatever you want to call it. We're going to be talking some Lost Caverns of Ixalan cards and just a few things that I've noticed, because while I've been away, it's given me a lot more time. Also, another very positive aspect of this little break has been that I listened to all the other big content creators do their spoiler talks, and I've listened to a lot about the set, like a lot. Most especially SBMPG, as always, but of course also Crokies has been doing some really good ones because I think he's the most brutal and honest. I've been watching, of course, Jim Davis and, Saffron Olive. Like, I get a very diverse kind of opinion from different sources from the community, and it's given me a lot to think about. And I think when all is said and done, it's kind of what I've been saying for a long time already. The fact that they changed from the usual rotation to this new long rotation where you end up with about 12 sets or something in standard before a rotation, and the sets that are coming out now, unless they were able to retroactively ever so slightly modify things, but from what I've heard and researched, it's not retroactively changed at all. All of these sets were designed before the decision to go to a 3-year rotation. So they have to coexist in the same standard with cards that they were never supposed to coexist with, and it's creating this really weird format. The guys over on Crokies, channel, they call it Explo or Explo. It's like mini Explorer. I mean, 12 sets is a lot of cards. So ultimately, what ends up happening in formats with that many card options is it really takes something ridiculously overpowered to be printed to replace a card in a pre-existing deck. So that's kind of what's been happening. Every new set, we pick and choose 3 or 4 or 5 cards that really make it into top tier, like competitive decks. And the rest of the cards, it's just good for like a clickbaity, nice YouTube video. Ooh, tribal, whatever, goblins. But then once like Worlds and that comes along, it's just the usual decks, as slightly adjusted or changed. As some come and they go. But a lot of the cards from Kamigawa are still super busted, still in the format. And it's interesting. It's really interesting because if you listen to, again, Crokies, I keep bringing him up, but I think his vision is the clearest when it comes to this stuff. There's some incredibly fun, overpowered, fantastic cards in the set, which I will get to in a second, that will unfortunately probably not see any play whatsoever outside of Limited, because they're just not quite as good as the thing that they're replacing in the curve in a deck that's already top tier. And we'll see, then once we do rotate, and then the sets coming after that will be, designed with the new rotation in mind, then what Wizards can do to fix this problem. I would think that it will sort of reduce power creep a little bit. I don't know, because now it feels like you have to power creep to, you know, make any of the cards from the new set at all interesting or playable. Okay, that's a very long-winded point. Now we can talk about, let's say, my top 10 list. And then I've got a few brews that I've been theory crafting in Moxfield that I just want to show you, just to get your brewing juices aflowing. But out of these gods, you know, these one side it's a god, and then they transform into a land, and they all have different conditions to do things. The blue one seems especially like terrible. Just does nothing when it enters the battlefield, and it's got 3 toughness. Like mono red will just go lightning strike and continue to attack. I think maybe Aclazot's in the proper deck. Some sort of like dedicated discard deck. And this is like a top end, and as a couple of might end up being like the one that's properly playable. I don't know about the others. But yeah, that's my 10 cents on the gods. But then in terms of like actually ridiculous cards that I think are a little bit being slept on, my favorite of them all has to go to... where are you? The Dowsing Device, okay? Whenever Dowsing Device or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, up to 1 target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. Then you transform it if you control 4 or more artifacts. In your automaton deck. You know, okay, I guess I just have to show you. The backside ends up being a little bit like the Michiko's Reign of Truth. I'm still trying to decide whether it's like going to be a Boros deck or a mono red artifact. But it'll be so easy to have it transform, having 4 or more artifacts, like playing in a deck that has some Power Stone creation, or, you know, you're playing an artifact deck, even just your automatons deck. You've got all these cheap little artifacts, and, you know, it includes itself 4 or more, doesn't say other artifacts. So it'll transform relatively quickly. And the backside is what we're trying to get here. The Geode Grotto. You pay 3, tap it, and until end of turn, target creature gains haste and gains +X/+O, where X is the number of artifacts you control. So, kinda, you see where I'm going, like with the Michiko's Reign of Truth? I think this might end up being really, 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 really good. +1/+O and gains haste until end of turn. And then giving that, like, buff. I'm super excited about this one. In terms of, like, little sleepers that no one's talking about. Then, card, I think, like, yeah, that's going to be the most broken in the set. I think is this Brass Tunnel Tunneler. Brass's Tunnel Grinder, I beg your pardon. The one that discovers X. I think when all is said and done, it's probably going to be like the one that's like the most broken out of the whole game. The fact that if you know, it's legendary, but if you top deck another one, you can like cycle it essentially. You just play it, discard any number of cards, and draw that many cards +1. At the beginning of your end step, if you descended this turn, put a ball counter, and then when you get to 3 ball counters, you get this thing. Like, that's going to be easy. You just need to make a deck. It's you descend if a permanent card was put into your graveyard from anywhere. So I'm still not entirely sure like what the best way of descending is going to be. But just this little text box is ridiculous. If you think about it for a second. Yeah, I mean, look, there's so much. There's so much. Like, I'm not going to go through and do like a full-on top 10. I just kind of wanted to check in with everybody. It's been a long time I've been away from the camera. I've missed you guys. Oof, this one is bursted. You know, of course, I'm going to try everything because I love doing that. I've got, you know, vampire deck that I'm about to show you on my Mox field that's looking really juicy. I think nice little bit of like, you know, cross synergy with the sets that wouldn't have existed in the same format. So I'm interested, like, this is when I question whether there was a little bit of editing being able to be done, like tiny things to make it a little bit better. A bit more on that in a second. This card looks broken and like cheated out or something a little bit earlier, or just ramp into it with your power stones and your your iron crag and get this out like turn 4 probably. No, turn 5. It's pretty ridiculous. Spells you control can't be counted, first of all, and then at the beginning of the end step, discover 5. Just like every end step, discover 5. This thing also, so, I mean, okay, like I said, I'm not going to get lost in sidetracks here. Of course, Cavern of Souls reprint, ridiculous. Can't wait to play it. I can't wait to play with it. Like, you know how much I hate my control mages when I'm playing my janky tribal stuff. This is just going to be chef's kiss. Of the creature lands, Restless Reef. I've been loving Mill for quite a while now, like my Esper Mill decks with Breach the Multiverse and you know, Jace and various ways of doing it. You can have the Teresian Mindbreaker and whatnot. Now we have like a ridiculously good man's land that's a 4/4 Death Touch. Costs the same as much to activate as the Cottage, the Golgari one. And you get a 4/4 Death Touch that mills for 4 cards. You know, when you're almost over the edge there and you just need like one more attack and then you activate your Jace one more time. Or, you know, it's going to be like... That deck's already close to being good. We've also got the Cruel Somnophage. Also, there's a kind of Sultai Self-Mill thing with the Descend that's looking like it's taking, you know, forming up. And you can, of course, target yourself with this. I think of the new ones, the Restless Reef is going to be pretty ridiculous. It's a tough competition with the Vents and the Reef, but time will tell. And that's it. So... on to some... how do I do this again? There we go. Some Moxfield action. Where does my face go on the camera? Let me move myself up here somewhere. Better. And I've got Naya artifacts. I mean, these are just... I threw these together in 2 seconds. The interface here is a little bit annoying. I can't wait to have the cards in the client so that I can build properly. The mana bases all over the place. I don't think I'll even have the Chetmir's Gardens, but I think 20 lands is fine. And it's the usual, lately I've been doing a lot of decks like this with the Automaton. Now we've got Sir Ginger, we've got Wormlet, which I love, Skrelv to protect them, but now there's lots of cool new stuff. Like, lots and lots of cool new stuff. Cool thing number 1, Dire Flail. It's only equip 1. It's a cheap artifact to proc all of our stuff. And, +2/+0 isn't terrible. And then the backside, the Dire Blunderbuss. We've got some things in the deck that synergize with this craft mechanic, which I'll get to. The crypt creature gets +3/+0, and then whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact other than it. And when you do, this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. So, like, interesting, but I think could be really more interesting in other decks, like more Rakdos, Saki kind of things. So more on that in future videos for sure. But still a pretty cool that it's an option, because we do have some cool new sack fodder. Well, first off, we've got this new Reliquary, which, you know, we need to sacrifice an artifact or creature to cast. I'm still a little bit on the fence with this one, but the main reason I've gone with it is the Market Gnome. So it's an artifact creature, 1 mana. It's got 3 toughness, so it defends really nicely against mono red in the early game. And then you can sack it either to this craft mechanic or to the Dusk Rose. And when you do so, you gain 1 life and draw a card, which is amazing. And then, of course, this is ridiculous, like a new little portable hole. It's got Ward 2 on top of it, which is just phenomenal. And you exile target artifact or creature an opponent controls. No, like, mana restrictions. I think this, again, like with the blunderbuss here, maybe more, I don't know. The fact that it's white, it's got to be some sort of, like, weird artifact sack deck that I still can't quite envision with, like, maybe in Mardu with the with the only called Anvil and whatnot, but... just 1 mana, exile any creature or artifact, and then it's got Ward 2, and it's an artifact, so triggers thing. You know, it's a relevant card type. I think this is a little bit of a sleeper as well. We just touched upon Dowsing Device. I wanted to put a 4 of in a deck on day 1 of early access and see if it's actually as good as I think it is. Of course, Glass Casket as more removal alongside the Dusk Rose Reliquary. We all know Glass Casket. Patchy Boy. And then Spring-Loaded Saw Blades. Flash, 2 mana, ETB, 5 damage, target creature. Gets rid of Sheoldred. Okay. Target tapped creature, yes, but still. You know, relevant card type, all that stuff that I've just been saying, but then it also does 5 damage when it ETBs. And then you can transform it into this. The backside is bonkers. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control, becomes an artifact creature until end of turn, or just crew 1, which means like anything in the deck, cruise it, and it's a 5/5. I think that's really sick card. Like, I think another one of my favorite little sleepers from the set. Like, really good looking. And then on the top end, again, like, this is a very, very early first idea. These are just the cool new, like, artifact thingies that kind of stood out to me. Then how these all click together will work out. But Dinotomaton. 4 mana. It's got menace. It's an artifact creature. It's a 4/3, but then when it enters the battlefield, creature you control gains menace until end of turn. So you give that to your Patchwork, your Sir Gingers of the game to get through for the damage. You know, probably still better to have like Steel Seraph, but I thought it was first of all really cool art and you know, something new and fun to try. So stay tuned for Naya artifacts. And every other various combination of artifact colors. Now that we've got all these, there's lots of artifacts in the new set, like really good ones. And then the other one that I just kind of threw together even less time ago, just before I hit record, is vampires. Again, very, very first draft, but the thing that got me going was the Sanguine Evangelist. Because I was trying to find the best way to like get stuff to sack for veto, right? And it says whenever you sacrifice another permanent, any permanent, and this is where I'm thinking they were able to retroactively ever so slightly adjust the cards before set release. Because also, where is he? Bartolome over here, Del Presidio, this free sack outlet. It could have just said sacrifice another creature, and I think that's what it originally said. And then they put or artifact. They were like, that doesn't really change it too much, and it allows cross synergy with the blood token producing vampires from way back in Crimson Bow and you know, the Innistrad block. So the fact that we can sacrifice these artifacts with Bartolome, and the fact that when Vito here says whenever you sacrifice another permanent, that means we can sacrifice both our creatures and our blood tokens to get the full 3 triggers on Vito that you need to get with him when he enters the battlefield for it to be good. And I think it's pretty easy to do if you think about it. I mean, Voltaren Epicure enters the battlefield, makes a blood token. Turn 2, play your Blood Tithe Harvester, makes a blood token. Then Sanguine Evangelist enters the battlefield or dies. It creates a 1/1 black bat token, so that's another 2 bats. And then you know, you can sacrifice it with Bartolome because it's a creature, and then when it dies, it makes, you know, so that's 3 things that you can sack. You know, that's already enough. And then you just play Vito on turn 4. So you go Voltaren, Bartolome, Sanguine Evangelist, Vito. It's a nice little curve, 1, 2, 3, 4. If it doesn't get too disrupted, you can, as soon as Vito enters, you sack all the stuff. With Bartolome, he gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And Vito gets all 3 triggers, which is Gainsy and Drainsies. No, you gain 2 life the first time. Opponent loses 2 life the second time. Third time, you get the 4/3 Black Vampire Demon creature token with flying. Then we've got the Voldaren Estate that makes blood tokens based on the number of vampires. The whole thing's vampires. Like, cool little things. There's Preacher, the Schism, making little bats to sacrifice. Oh, it's a 1/1 vampires, and like drawing you cards potentially. This interesting card design. We've got Vran to gain some life with. It happens to be a vampire. You know, and then of course Edgar is in here, and I thought let's, you know, maybe this with the 3 black pips, because this is going to end up being Mardu, and the mana base I still need to work on for ages. This is just, I threw it to, you know, it's missing. You can see the whole deck is incomplete yet. It's 58 cards. I was still working on it, but with the fact that we have Voldaren Estate that can tap for mana of any color for vampires and Courtyard. Welcoming Vampire for card draw. This could end up being pretty cool. Like, I think this is potentially good. And of course, I still need to put in some removal and whatnot. Super keen to test this on early access, which is, as I'm recording this for me in Indonesia, tomorrow. So the next thing you'll see from me is early access brews. If you have any fresh ideas, please come, you know, drop them in the Discord community. Link is always down in the description. We've started a little bit of theory crafting over there with the members. And yeah, if this is the first time you're watching my channel, then consider joining us there, and we can get some, you know, if you've got any ideas you'd like to see me play, come drop them in the Discord. I'm going to be streaming on the Discord server, and then, you know, recording pretty much the whole entire day. I usually like have a nice big rest the day before, loads of caffeine at the ready, and away we go. And I'll try and record like at least 5 or 6 different decks, and it'll give me a nice feel for the new format. If there is any crazy new things and stuff that I missed that I see other content creators trying, like, that's the best. I get very inspired. I'll make a sort of post early access top 10 cards that I think will influence the format after early access. So stay tuned for that as well. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I will see you all in the next one with another... How many days is that? It's going to be like... I'm going to try make it like at least another 5 fresh brews for you guys. And until then, this is Lone Fox from the Brew Lab, signing out. Peace, y'all.